The Electric State is a brand new Netflix blockbuster directed by the Russo brothers, who are most known for directing Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, Captain America Civil War, as well as the upcoming two-part Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars movies. In other words, they're known for their contribution to the Marvel Universe and not much else. Well, they did direct a few episodes of Community and Arrested Development, so for the TV world, they're pretty game. Those are also some really great episodes. But for the first time in a long time, the Russo brothers have become two of the only directors of some of the most profitable franchises in the world to immediately follow up that massive hit with a gigantic flop. And it wasn't like Endgame was an amazing story either. It had characters everyone cared about at the time, some of the most popular characters in the world crammed into an ensemble epic sci-fi action story that was the culminating point of a decade's worth of storytelling. So they kind of already had a massive audience and emotional stakes built in, but that really was a historical moment. The final chapter of the MCU is a major landmark in cinema history, so even if Avengers Endgame wasn't one of the greatest movies of all time, I don't think it is one of the greatest films ever. It did cement itself as one of the most important superhero movies of all time. If not for a so-so story, but how it broke the rules of what major franchise movies were capable of, and how it changed the landscape of blockbuster cinema, leading to Marvel at the time being almost like the Star Wars of the modern era. But the Russos have made that major movie. We're not done. They went on to make The Gray Man, an adaptation of a spy novel for Netflix, which to be honest is quite similar to The Electric State, although I'd argue it's much better. They're both tropey, non-linear, kind of messy stories without a real heart to them. But where The Gray Man is a dumb, simple 90s action sort of flick like Jason Bourne or a Schwarzenegger or Stallone movie with Ryan Gosling as a cool spy, Sierra 6, fighting Chris Evans' cheesy but fun to watch mustache villain, who I don't even remember the name of, it's that generic. It still is fun to watch. It's a cheesy, like, kind of good looking movie, but it's dumb but fun. It has cool visual designs. It never really stands out from the barrage of other and better spy thrillers. And it's too goofy to be serious, to take seriously, or be like, that was great. But it's still entertaining and watchable. Although you still might remember that film from 2022 and go, meh, when you think about it. I mean, I remember when it came out and I thought it wasn't bad, and I still think about that. But looking back, when I think about The Gray Man, I thought that was meh. This new movie, I just get every sort of film ick watching it. It just screams terrible movie that doesn't care about being a good film. It feels like the Russo brothers, I don't think they went into this wanting to make a cheesy movie. I think what they wanted to do was make a movie that was going to be appealing to everyone. And when everyone talks to me about the source material and how much better it was, I keep thinking, like, it's not like the Russos saw that and thought, we can change this and, our version will definitely be better. I think they really wanted to make a great adaptation, but I think with what Netflix wants to do, making a movie that everyone will like, and as Roger Ebert said, a movie meant for everyone is meant for no one. I think so many things went into making this movie this adaptation that just kind of ruined it. So let's talk about that, because The Electric State is one of the worst films I've seen in a while. And just the fact that it's a $320 million Netflix movie directed by the Russo brothers who made Avengers Endgame, it's just enough to get views, to get people talking. But it's just so bad. This film is deeply frustrating for so many reasons. For starters, the concept is rich to be mined for action, drama, a great story. This feels like it could be the E.T., the Terminator, District 9, Stranger Things, AI, artificial intelligence. The ideas presented here are excellent. And in the hands of better directors, I could see this being an awesome, inspiring, and fun-to-watch movie that not only serves great action, but has a deep plot, memorable characters, and a story I can emotionally get invested in, and, maybe even remember from years to come. But this movie has none of that. Like, Avengers Infinity War and Endgame had Thanos, and everyone at the time, loved that. I remember thinking, this is so cool when the movie ended and the villain won. I thought, what movie has done that? Thanos is this awesome villain. Who is going to remember Stanley Tucci as Ethan Skate? You think anyone's going to be like, who's one of the top villains ever? Hannibal Lecter, Darth Vader, and Stanley Tucci as Ethan Skate. Also, I liked him in Transformers, the dinosaur one, Age of Extinction. But seriously, that's what I'm saying. Nothing in here feels like it can or will be remembered because it's so bland and uninteresting. This movie is so mind-bogglingly convoluted. It's so awfully plotted and so void of any interesting characters. Within the first 5 minutes, any person who watches movies will know this is going to be a heaping pile of dog shit. Because at the beginning, all of the good stuff is simply stated over voiceover. Oh, machines were invented to help people. Machines then took control and didn't want to be servants. The robots fought back. There's this giant war. They all got put in this giant prison called the X, the electric state, I guess. We'll get to that later, because even the title of the film, even the thing we're looking forward to, is so disappointing, is so uninteresting for, like, the selling point. All this cool stuff, the whole robot war is crammed in the first 5 minutes. We don't see any of it. Now, even if in the book the film takes place after the war too, the way it's presented here makes it feel like an afterthought, and that's a huge issue. And the movie has several major ones: character, tone, pacing, and story. And when you mess all of those up, your movie is going to be a fucking mess. For starters, Millie Bobby Brown's character, our lead, we know nothing about her but the basics, except, oh, she has some brother who's in the first 2 minutes of the movie. The first shot is literally him taking a test to, I guess, get into college because he's supposed to be some kind of genius, and the film immediately just cuts to all that robot war exposition. Then the movie flashes forward 5 years and, oh, guess what? He's dead. He died in a car crash, so she's all alone. Which brings us to pacing, because the pacing here is abysmal. It gives us no time to let us soak in the emotions of these characters. Millie Bobby Brown might as well be a plank of wood with a dead brother, because we barely even gotten to know them. Why should we care about them? Like, in a Spielberg movie, for example, I feel like his movies are always obviously better, but he'd be a great director for a concept like this. He'd allow us to naturally get to know the world, where robots are part of everyday society. A Spielberg film would allow both the human characters and the robots to develop side by side, so it flows naturally. But instead, we just rush into our humans and then get exposition. Really awful newsreel exposition. Newsreel exposition is the absolute worst. So now we're with Millie Bobby Brown, and all of a sudden this robot shows up at her house claiming to be her brother. Turns out he got experimented on by Short Round, scientist character, because he was such a genius. He was like the last hope for humans to win the war against robots or something. None of this really makes sense to me after watching the movie, and even if it did, it's so clunky and awfully explained, it never feels real. There are movies that have done this storyline right, even if the movie wasn't great. For example, 2023's The Creator dealt with humans fighting AI in a stronger way. The movie itself was kind of basic and kind of also a bit messy towards its end, but the tone of that film and the characters had heart. They had development, and they had the basic emotion you need to attach to them. Also, that movie really looked so much better than this film. Chris Pratt literally has no character here. He's just here to be this scrappy action hero who gets roped into the plot. He has no backstory, no real emotional journey. He's just some human soldier who was fighting robots, got rescued by one who's voiced by Anthony Mackie, I think. So now he's like some kind of sympathetic towards them, I guess. But just some typical goofy joke spouting action hero avatar, so Millie Bobby Brown isn't alone in this journey. And so Netflix has someone else to build this movie with. And we haven't even talked about tone. The tone of the movie is all over the place. This film is too serious for young kids, but it's too silly for adults. I really think this could have been better. Not only if it was longer, but if it took itself a bit more seriously, like if it went the Spielberg route. This has that Stranger Things syndrome, and I don't mean that because Millie Bobby Brown is in it, but it feels like instead of carving out its own world, it's just dabbling in nostalgia. And the movie shoots itself in the foot by doing that. It never feels like these characters are people we're going to remember by the time the end credits roll, and I won't. You think you'll remember Chris Pratt or Millie Bobby Brown's character? What's their name? Well, I just saw it, so I know it's Keats and Jessie. No, not even. It's like something else. Jessie's the name of the girl that the robot character like always is talking about. It's like Bumblebee. He just says what's on the radio. Anyway, to have memorable characters, they would need to have a mildly interesting and have an arc that feels satisfying and emotionally conclusive. Millie's relatively works because she wants to get her brother back. It's so baseline and overused, but it's still something. The only thing that sucks is we barely see them spend any time together, so it really just feels like it's forced for the plot. And Chris Pratt has nothing else. He's just roped into the story because the plot needs him. He has no emotional arc whatsoever. Compare that to Star-Lord, who's kidnapped from Earth, is essentially raised by space pirates and has to grapple with his identity back on Earth and the loss of his mother, while making new friends in space and defeating Ronan. It gives him a lot of heart and characters who've also suffered, and their union and friendship in Guardians of the Galaxy has feeling and meaning and emotional weight to it. Where here there's nothing. He just says like, oh, I almost died and I was rescued by a robot. But like, so what? We don't know anything about him, except some spoken dreck. It's just told to us very quickly, and who the fuck is going to remember that, especially when the rest of the film looks ugly? Which brings us to the entire plot of the movie, which literally is just nothing. It's a void. It's a dull, empty, hollow shell. Nothing here makes sense, nothing here works, and everything that should be exciting is just nullified. The beginning of this film, as I mentioned early on, is so intriguing to me, but so disappointing because the first 5 minutes just promises you all that cool stuff you think you might get with a concept like this, but it just doesn't happen. They just show a mass exodus of robots over a bridge to a detention center, the electric state, in a brief montage. None of that cool shit, robots helping humans and then rebelling and then the war and their eventual peace treaty and then being led to a prison, is even part of the story. It's all just rambled at the beginning. So if all that's the beginning, what's the actual movie? Well, nothing. Millie Bobby Brown just has to get her brother to the electric state, I guess. She teams up with Chris Pratt. They find themselves in this electric state, which is really just a desert that's also a mall where a weird bunch of animatronic robots live. One's a taco who plays the piano, one's a baseball. For some reason, I think Brian Cox voices someone named Popfly. Jenny Slate is a cop. Woody Harrelson voices, of all people, Mr. Peanut, who's supposed to be their leader. I think it's just ridiculous and reaches such a bonkers, taking itself so seriously, and with a budget like this too, all while being so undeniably stupid and empty of any real feeling or meaning. It teeters on so bad it's good, just because of how self-serious this is. This is supposed to be some huge blockbuster, but there's really nothing blockbuster-worthy here. Just because they're robots and there's a big fight at the end doesn't even mean this feels like a blockbuster. It's a $320 million, really friggin' expensive Netflix movie that is now streaming. It doesn't have the components of anything, really, that would make an interesting movie. And then there's this whole plot with Stanley Tucci's character, some boring tech Elon Musk guy, who's the villain of this movie. He wants to stop Millie Bobby Brown because he needs her brother to keep the robots at bay or something. And then the whole time none of it makes sense because A, they never establish why the brother's so important for the robots. They need his brain to help something. B, we never get an arc of Stanley Tucci by himself, why he's such a good villain, why he wants to keep these robots down, what his motivation is. There's one scene where he's doing a Blade Runner 2049 type virtual simulation of having dinner with his mother, who he misses or he said was an alcoholic, but it never comes into the story again. And C, because there's no other stakes beyond saving the brother, which makes this whole final robot battle on an island so stupid. It's just a bunch of robots flying around, fighting each other. But what's the point? If the brother dies, he dies. I really don't care. It's not like there's anything else to worry about. I think he has some persuasion over the robots, but I just didn't care. It's not like we get to see this world. It's not like we get to see anyone besides the girl's shitty stepfather. So even if they have this stupid plot of, the brother connects to all the robots, they're all gonna die, it doesn't matter because we have no connection to any of them, except maybe Chris Pratt's robot friend, because he's kind of a sidekick through the movie. But I hope you get what I'm saying. It just feels so small, where most blockbusters have things that make them feel so large. This honestly kind of reminded me of the last hour of Endgame, which is all just pointless noise and fighting. But at least that was an excuse to show all of these Marvel superheroes teaming up one last time. It still was ugly noise with the dumb backdrop plot of, now they have to save the universe, which I'm sure everyone could kind of figure out. They would. Infinity War ended dark. They weren't going to do that again here, but it's how it's done that matters. I don't care if you hire Giancarlo Esposito to play the same cold, emotionless guy he always plays. Here he's just some dumb dude in a robot suit who probably phoned in most of his lines in the voiceover booth. And he just keeps popping up to make life hard for Millie Brown and Chris Pratt. But who cares? His character is also nothing. What is his goal? What is his arc? What's in it for Esposito? The movie doesn't care about such simple yet crucial and important details. It's a swirling storm of shit, where the core of the storm is just no. It's nothing. The Electric State could be this big, epic sci-fi movie. It really could be a great, epic movie about a war on robots. Could have been like E.T. or District 9 or Stranger Things. It could have been like The Creator, but had a bit more fun to it. It just doesn't manage to do any of those things right. Instead, it's just this big, flat, emotionless, dull Netflix film that's content that does nothing new. And there's so many goddamn needle drops. Each one feels like it's tearing into the fabric of this movie's reality. Each time a character jokes about a song, they go, I don't want to die to this song. It just feels like we're acknowledging that this is content, that this is not real. This isn't a story that was created by artists. It feels safe, by the numbers, trying to appeal to everyone. and empty, because for a 2-hour and 8-minute sci-fi blockbuster, it feels like a 40-minute episode of like one of the worst Marvel shows. It's just white noise. So let me know what you guys think of The Electric State, and hopefully, if you guys saw it, you agreed, maybe you liked it. Feel free to disagree, but let me know what you think in the comments. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Take it easy.